Today we're gonna do a sketch review. What's up friends, Liron here, thank you for joining me in another video. I just finished the sketch I just showed you, and I was kind of not sure if I like it, if I don't like it. So what I want to do is together with you go over it and review it, and maybe look at some of the things I could have done better, some of the things I did well, and maybe we can learn from this. Okay, so let's get started. This sketch was a bit of a challenging scene because it felt to me at least a bit wide, and there's a lot of parallel lines running through it that are fairly long, longer than what I usually tend to sketch. I tend to sketch buildings more zoomed out, and so this entire thing will be squashed into this area or something similar to that. But in any case, I just started slowly building it up. I started from this side. I did this line first, and then I tried to assess what the correct angle would be to continue this, and then I started throwing in those parallel lines for the roof, the top one, this one, this one. Actually, I got the structure fairly well. I think the sketch itself as a whole, I just don't like the way this part reads. I did draw it as accurately as I could, and the perspective is, I think, fairly good. Maybe should be a little more extreme here, meaning this whole line should run a little lower at a more angle. Instead of this, a bit like that. I'm not sure about it, but anyway, the cross-hatching here on the side of the building is a bit rough. Now the reason is that this was very subtle, that this is a little darker. Okay, the skies were very bright, and the roof was significantly darker, which was something that was very easy to see and to tell. What was a bit challenging is getting this area's value to look good, to look correct. One more thing I would say, let's take a pause from the values for a moment. I think the composition maybe could have been a little better. Perhaps if I walked more to the right and had this area a little more squashed, it would have been a little better. I think the values here work right. The shadows were very not sharp, very dim. There wasn't any sharp edges or high contrasts in them, because the sky was fairly cloudy, and so you didn't really have strong sunlight directly on the house or the building. What I will say is that at some point the sun kind of popped and there was a strong shadow under this part of the roof, and for a moment there I had a thought like, should I just change it entirely to fit that new conditions? And I decided not to. By the way, let me clip that just so that it's easier to see. Okay, the angle's a little better now. So yeah, the composition, I'm not sure how well it turned out. The trees here play an important role. I like the way this tree turned out, and this one as well, but trees aren't my strength yet. And every time I just say I'll focus on them and just sketch some trees, I don't really get the result I want. So maybe this is something worth working harder on. But anyway, back to the values. These are sort of bricks, red bricks. So they're significantly darker than the walls here. This gate is metal, it's completely black. This is actually, interestingly enough, blue, but very strong blue, so I just made it dark. This fence here was quite a big challenge to get all those details in, and I didn't get all of them exactly the way I wanted to, but hopefully it reads well in terms of the foliage, the bushes, the trees coming through from the fence. One thing that I would say, my cross-hatching technique was a bit off. Also here, by the way, I'm very critical, or maybe it sounds like I'm very critical, but I do combine it with accepting my work, meaning I love this one. I love this sketch. I just try to learn from it as much as possible, and this is why I criticize it so much, but don't worry, it's not like I hate it or something. So anyway, my cross-hatching technique on the roof could have definitely been better, just because you see this stitched area, I just don't have enough coordination, and I think it's really challenging to pull, sorry I moved the tripod a bit, to just pull such long lines
and keep them parallel and keep them looking good. So sometimes you have to break it into several parts. Now, my pen was also starting to die a bit, and so this also doesn't contribute to drawing long, strong lines. But even if it wasn't, it's something that's a little more challenging. I think maybe with a good fountain pen it won't happen as much. But anyway, yeah, I faced this challenge, and sometimes when you break it off, like I did here, it's less significant because you break it off in strategic places, or the entire object you're shading is more at the back, and so it has less of an importance. But this roof has a lot of importance. It's the center of attention here. This window, it's one of the centers of attention at least, and so this area is crucial and does feel a little bit stitched. What I would say is the strong point of this sketch is the details, and there are quite a few details here with the lamp, with the entrance, and there's the small oil lamp, Parisian style oil lamp. There's the post boxes and electronic and electricity thing and the number of the house, all of the details here, as I mentioned, on the fence. This sketch took much longer than I want to admit. I think I was working on it for about 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. I don't know. Maybe it sounds a lot. I think maybe 2 hours or maybe an hour and 40 minutes, something like this. Just because I really try to be careful with the cross-hatching. So many times I'd get a sketch that I think looks better in half the time. But that's life. Sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. And in continuation with my video on sketchbooks, so really like, here's an example of something that some of you may say is fantastic, and I think is good, but it's not like the best I want to achieve, but I still accept it with love. So I do practice acceptance as well, and to really like my work. And yeah, I really love this one. I love the details, I love the cross-hatching, I love the trees. So yeah, this is it. I hope this sort of review gives you some insights. So far I mainly did this for paintings, and this time I decided to do it for a drawing, for a sketch, just so you can see some of the thought process or work process behind this. In terms of how I approach this, so yeah, as I mentioned, I started from the left, just started building the shapes. Sometimes you need to work in an order that makes sense, just like the video with the car that I showed you. Sometimes you want to stop with the background and go for something that's closer just because it obstructs something else. As soon as I got to this area, I went over to work on this because this obstructs this and this obstructs this. So you kind of need to be a little methodological in the way you methodical. I don't know. You have to tell me. Methodical or methodological? Please let me know. I think it's methodical. You have to be more methodical sometimes in the work order. So not only watercolor is very challenging in terms of the work order, but also sketches. And one thing I do want to put an emphasis on in the future, and I mentioned this not a long time ago, is actually delve deeper into the process of working with watercolor and how I approach everything. Just like that 40-something minute detailed video of the Porsche 911, I want to make something that's very, and by the way, it's really I didn't do that well in views just because I published it a little late. It's really an underdog right now, so be sure to check it out. I think I'll put a link somewhere in the top right corner, a card. So be sure to check it out because it really shows the process for sketching. What I want is to do the same thing for painting. To take a painting and not even just start immediately working on it and showing you, oh, look how cool my wet and wet technique is, but to actually tell you what I'm thinking about and how I'm planning it out. And do I start with the sky and negative paint around the buildings, or do I just cover everything and then paint on it? You know, these kinds of things that are very challenging for beginners, and still for me, many scenes I run into, I'm like, whoa, I don't know how to start. So anyway, yeah, this is it. I think it's a good time to move to the wrap up of this video.
So friends, I hope you enjoyed this and learned something new. I'm selfish, I have to wrap up videos with my face on them. I just feel like if you don't see my face in the video, it's not so good. So yeah. Anyway, I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed making this sketch, even though some of the things, as I mentioned, could have been a little more to my liking. And yeah, this is it. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow me on Snapchat and Instagram. I see quite a few of you are following me on Snapchat, and I start to gain some following there. And I really try to publish live updates of what I'm doing, how I'm doing this. For example, this sketch, I think I posted about 6 or something pictures of the process as I'm doing it in front of the reference. So just you can get to see some more cool stuff there. Okay? So anyway, I will see you again tomorrow. Take care.